Hey, so we're going to be looking at QQQ now. We haven't looked at this one for a couple weeks. I have April 7th on my tracker. If we look at April 7th, we have the 1 month chart here in the middle. It was trading at 318, so it's been relatively flat. There's been a slight dip all the way down to about 309 and now at 322. So from point to point, relatively flat, just an increase of $4. But there was a little bit of a range in this uh, roughly 3 week time span. I did have buy points marked at about uh, 306, 300, and 290, and a resistance at 336. And so currently being at 322, we're kind of in the middle. We'll just kind of see how this plays out. I also have a note saying that we are in an uptrend, so we'll get to the technicals in just a minute. No real news from this one. I'm sure there's greater news out there, but just for this stock specifically, this ETF, there was no news relating to it that I saw. Something that I wanted to point out that this is going to be new for us, and I'm not sure if this will actually like how much of a benefit this will be. But these top 10 holdings, I like to share this just to again be more familiar with what this ETF is most heavily into. This one seems to have a decent spread. Um, I mean, the top 10 holdings do make up over 50%, but there's not like a crazy majority in any specific stock here. The highest being Microsoft at 12.5%. That's a pretty big allocation for the top 100, but it seems to be fairly spread out. But what we're gonna do here, just to kind of test the water, see how things happen. I added this new tab on the spreadsheet where I have the sector here in column B, and then I have the stock and its current proportion to the ETF. And I just want to see if week over week does that change, whether good or bad, meaning up or down. And I guess the thinking is if, for example, say, oh, that's interesting. They have two Googles here. But let's just say Meta here at 3.6% of the portfolio. If all of a sudden next week we look at this, or not next week, but just the next time we looked at this ETF, if all of a sudden that one's at say 8%, I mean it doubled in say 2 or 3 weeks when we circle back to this, that to me is going to set off an alarm saying, what just happened there? Did Meta uh, go do incredibly well in terms of their stock price? And if it did, then that kind of makes sense. It's just overweight due to the fact that the stock price went uh, it grew rapidly in a short period of time, and so there's not really much that the brokerage firm did about that. Or alternatively, if it still went up, like doubled in percentage, and the stock price didn't really grow all that much, then that lets us know the portfolio managers put more money into that. And if that's the case, then we want to dig into the news to see what's actually happening there. And should we piggyback off that? Are we going to be able to catch what these institutions found? And then we can either confirm that and invest in it as well. Or if we don't like the idea, we don't have to follow through with that. But that's the thinking. We'll start doing this for all the ETFs and see just if it's fruitful in our endeavors here. But for now, that's just wanted to update that. Again, no real news from this one, so we will just go right into the technicals. Um, so last time we looked was during this red candle, so 318. It looks like we're starting to trade sideways, and so my initial impression is maybe this ETF is finding support at about 315. If that's the case, we will elevate our buy points. But for now, I mentioned earlier that we had buy points at 290, which down here is 290. That's slightly above our low end fair value point, which was 286. The thinking was just to give us a little bit of buffer. also considering that it hit a dip at 286, and so considering the uptrend, we don't want to bring it all the way back to 286, even though that there is a case for that. Considering the uptrend, we wanted it to be just a little bit higher, just so that we could say that uptrend still technically is intact. So I put it at 290. Then we have 300. 300 was roughly this intersecting point that we kind of forecasted out, noticing this, I think it's called a steeple uptrend, where we're hitting higher highs and higher lows. And if that trend, sort of what we saw back here, continues, we would have met at a point right around 300. And then I put 306, which is the upper end of what I'm calling the fair value range. So those are the three buy points. And I'm going to stick with that for now. And then the resistance was 336, and that's that red bar up top. If we just kind of scale back a little bit, the reason that even came about was because it hit resistance here back in like early second quarter of 21. It came close twice in early 21. Ultimately, it did break, and then when it kind of bounced back here in like mid to third quarter 22, it came close again, but got rejected. We'll see if that same type of resistance happens again. Right now, I have it marked as a point of interest for us, so we'll of course continue to monitor it. I think over time it will surpass that. Not sure if it'll happen this year. Based on the trend and how I drew it, yeah, it's very possible that we'll see that in possibly June. But we'll, just continue to watch this, see how it plays out. But for now, we're right in the middle of that range between my first buy point of 306 and a resistance point at 336. So for now, I'm just going to kind of sit back and see how this plays out. Again, if we do notice over the next couple weeks that it seems to be finding support at 315, things will change in terms of a buy point. But again, for now, I'm just going to continue to watch this, see how it evolves come the next time we circle back to this, which should be maybe like 2 or 3 weeks. And barring anything like major happening, we might circle back sooner, but I wouldn't expect to. So what I did, I'm just going to update my tracker here. So currently it's at 322. Buy points will stay the same. Resistance, we'll keep that at 336. I updated the note here to show the uptrend has been happening for roughly 4 months. And possible support at 315. So let me share this and we'll wrap it up. So we have QQQ right here, currently 322. There's those buy points that I mentioned earlier, resistance, and then the note that I just said, it's been in that uptrend for 4 months, and possible support at 315. So as we watch this one, we'll be able to confirm that. But for now, I'm just gonna kind of sit out of this one, see how this all shapes out. But if you have any questions, or if you think this one is at a different buy point for you, or if you don't think it's going to have resistance at 336, any points you want to add to this, I'd be happy to read that, and you can share it in the comments below. But yeah, that's it. So please like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.